The story begins in the Mexican desert, where a man is digging. Suddenly, he finds a dagger wrapped in a cloth. As soon as he picks up the dagger, a strange force takes control of his body. After that, he starts walking on his own. And just as he steps forward to cross the road, he gets hit by a speeding car. In this accident, the car is destroyed, but the man only ends up with a strange mark on his hand. He immediately walks away from the scene as if nothing even happened. After this, the story moves to Los Angeles, where a woman opens her daughter's bedroom door only to be completely shocked. Her daughter was walking on the ceiling like a witch. Seeing this, the family calls Father Hennessy for help. But Hennessy doesn't have the ability to fix what's happening. So he brings in a man named John Constantine, who's an expert in exorcising ghosts and spirits. John also has a smoking addiction. As soon as he enters the girl's room, he pulls the curtain aside to let sunlight in. But the girl, who is tied to the bed, seems to be in extreme pain because of it. John then presses a hot cross on the girl's forehead, causing her to scream loudly. While doing this, John chants some spells. Suddenly, the girl goes completely silent, and in the very next second, a strange-looking entity tries to attack John, but he punches it hard and sends it back. After this, John asks the family for a mirror, which he hangs directly above the girl. Then he breaks the window and tells his partner Chaz to bring the car around back. After tying the mirror with a rope, John warns everyone present not to look down at the girl, no matter what. But despite his warning, one man looks at her and his hair instantly turns white.
Meanwhile, it's getting harder and harder for John to control the girl, so he forces the spirit inside her to look at the mirror. As soon as it does, the spirit exits the body and gets trapped inside the mirror. When the demon tries to break out of the mirror, John quickly pulls the rope and flips the mirror straight through the window. The mirror fell straight onto the car parked below, shattering into thousands of pieces. As John was leaving the place, his eyes landed on a painting of the historical dagger used to kill Jesus. He took the painting with him, but what he didn't know was that a man, flipping a coin in his hand, was watching him from above. John was thinking about how hard it had been to get that evil spirit out of the girl's body. That's why he suspected something much bigger was coming. That same night, a detective named Angela suddenly opened her eyes on a hospital bed. She heard the name Isabel and followed the voice all the way to the hospital rooftop, where she took off her bandages and jumped. But right at that moment, Angela woke up. It had all just been a terrifying dream. The next morning, Angela was called to the hospital to investigate a case. When she got there, she found out that what she had dreamed was actually something that had happened to her twin sister the previous night. Isabel had been admitted to the hospital as a mental patient, but Angela was convinced that something wasn't right. Meanwhile, in Mexico, the man carrying the dagger across the border in one huge jump. The moment his feet touched the ground, every animal nearby dropped dead. Back to John. He suddenly started vomiting blood. When he went to the doctor, he found out that his smoking habit had now turned into full-blown lung cancer. He only had a little time left. A while later, his friend Beeman came to see him, bringing along some supernatural weapons for John's next mission. One of them was a special gun that could shoot out dragon's breath. While they were talking, John told Beeman about the demon that was trying to blend in among humans, which shouldn't have been possible. Demons can only shapeshift. So Beeman told him he'd investigate it further. After that, John went to a church where he met Angela. She had come to talk to the priest because she wanted her sister's Isabel's funeral to be held in the Catholic tradition. But according to the priest, that wasn't possible because Isabel had taken her own life, which is considered a sin. Just then, John spotted Gabriel, a half-angel, visible only to people with special powers. John asked Gabriel to talk to God and request a little more time for him to live. Gabriel laughed it off and told John that he was going to hell, whether now or 10 years later. John argued that he had sent so many demons back to hell just to redeem himself, trying to pay for his sins through his good deeds, and that God should at least acknowledge that. But according to Gabriel, the only way John could go to heaven was if he truly surrendered his soul to God. And besides, Gabriel said John only ever captured souls for his benefit. Meanwhile, Hennessy was scanning a newspaper by running his hand over it. That's when his eyes caught the news of Isabel's death. The moment he placed his hand on the article, he felt something strange. At that same time, Angela was watching the footage of Isabel's death, and suddenly she heard Isabel say John's name. Right then, all the phones in her house started ringing at once. But when she picked up, no one spoke from the other end. Elsewhere, while walking down the street, John suddenly fell ill and dropped to the ground. A bug crawled near his hand, and in the very next second, a demon made entirely of insects attacked him. The hit was so strong that John's weapon box went flying out of his hand. It became nearly impossible for him to fight the demon, but he somehow managed to break free and grab the box. Before he could do anything, though, the demon struck again.
To dodge it, John ran toward the road, hurled the box into the air, and lured the demon in front of a moving car. The moment the car hit it, the demon was destroyed. After that, John and Chaz went to a place called Midnight's Club, where only supernatural beings were allowed. That's why only John was let inside. Everyone inside was partying, but John ignored them all and went straight to a room where he met the club's owner, Midnight, a sorcerer himself. But Midnight didn't take sides in the fight between heaven and hell. John told Midnight about the demon that attacked him, but Midnight refused to believe him. According to the rules, demons aren't allowed to physically enter Earth. Just then, a guy named Balthazar walked into the room. He was actually half demon and started provoking John while flipping a coin in his hand. John didn't like that one bit and started threatening Balthazar, but Midnight quickly stepped in and stopped him. Soon after, John's condition worsened again and he left the club. A little later, Angela came to John's home. She was convinced that something or someone was behind Isabel's death, but John wasn't at all interested in her theories. During their conversation, though, John noticed a spirit that had been following Angela. The moment he saw it, he ran toward her, and after witnessing that, he was sure Isabel's death wasn't natural. Angela still didn't believe in ghosts or spirits, but suddenly, the electricity in the entire area cut out and violent winds started blowing. John pulled a cloth from his pocket and lit it on fire. As soon as he did, all the demons nearby burned to ashes. Then John turned to Angela and said, "They were after you, not me." Finally, John decided to get to the bottom of Angela's case by going to hell. John decided to go to hell so he could find Isabel there. First, he went to Angela's home. He grabbed her pet cat, put both his feet in a bowl of water, and told Angela to leave the room. Then, staring into the cat's eyes, John created a connection that slowed down time. In the next second, he was in hell. To protect himself, John had holy water with him. He ignored the spirits and demons all around and focused on finding Isabel. When he finally saw her, just like before, she looked at him and said his name. Then she took off her medical tag and jumped. John instantly sprinted after her, with several demons chasing behind. At the very last second, John leapt and caught Isabel's medical tag. He splashed the holy water on his chest and returned to Earth, but by then, his whole body was smoking from the hellfire. He handed Isabel's tag to Angela and told her that Isabel had chosen this path on her own, willingly. That's why she had ended up in hell. Meanwhile, Hennessy secretly broke into the morgue to see Isabel's body. He touched her hand to try to see her memories, but the moment he did, a strange mark appeared on his palm. It scared him. He immediately tried to take a drink from his flask, but not a single drop came out. Just then, a security guard caught him. Hennessy managed to escape and ran into a nearby store where he desperately tried to drink alcohol from bottle after bottle, but nothing came out. After smashing a few bottles, he collapsed on the floor, choking. That's when Balthazar showed up, and watching Hennessy die gave him twisted satisfaction. He was the one who had messed with Hennessy's mind, making him believe no alcohol was coming out, when in reality, he was drowning in it. Meanwhile, John told Angela that he had been seeing ghosts and spirits since childhood, but he didn't understand it back then. His family, thinking he was mentally unstable, had admitted him to a psychiatric hospital, something that felt like hell to him. That's when he decided to end it all. He was clinically dead for 2 full minutes before the doctors brought him back, and after that, he realized that everything he saw was real. But he also knew that because of his sins, his soul was destined for hell. So he made it his mission to send demons back to hell, to earn redemption, hoping that one day he might be allowed into heaven. He also explained to Angela that heaven and hell had a bet going. Who could win the most human souls? That's why beings like Gabriel and Balthazar, half angels and half demons, were created. Their job was to influence people's minds and push them toward either good or evil. Just then, Angela received news of Hennessy's death. She and John immediately rushed to the scene. John noticed a strange mark on Hennessy's palm, the same one Isabel had, and the same one that the Mexican man had on his hand. It was a clue Hennessy had left behind specifically for John. John made a copy
copy of the mark and sent it to Beeman for analysis. Then he and Angela headed to Isabel's hospital room. John pressured Angela hard to remember anything related to Isabel's death. After thinking for a while, Angela finally recalled that as kids, they used to talk in a secret code. She then breathed onto the mirror in the room, and through the fog, a word appeared, Corintho. According to the Bible of Hell, which had more passages than the normal Bible, Corintho referred to Mammon, the son of Satan, who was responsible for bringing darkness upon humanity. The same mark that had appeared on Hennessy's hand belonged to Mammon. The truth was, Mammon wanted to overthrow his father and rule the entire universe, but for that, he needed a special human, someone with not only intelligence, but also unique powers. Just then, Beeman sensed that someone, or something, was coming for him. In the next second, insects started crawling out of his eyes. By the time John and Angela arrived, it was already too late. Meanwhile, the man carrying the dagger had stolen a car and was headed toward Los Angeles. Angela told John that she and Isabel also used to see ghosts and spirits as kids, just like John. But when Isabel was sent to a mental hospital, Angela started ignoring everything supernatural so she wouldn't be sent away too. Eventually, she really did stop seeing spirits. Now, she regretted leaving her sister alone and wanted John to help her get her ability back. John agreed. He filled a bathtub with water and forcibly dunked Angela into it. The moment she stopped breathing, time slowed down, and in the next second, Angela came back, her powers restored.
That brief trip to hell had been enough. Angela sensed something and rushed to Beeman's office, where she found Balthazar's coin. Later, Balthazar was staring at his reflection in a mirror when suddenly he was hit with a blast of dragon's breath. It hurled him across the room. John then splashed holy water on his face, burning it badly. A fight broke out between them. Eventually, John managed to pin Balthazar down and held the Bible to his face, threatening him. Terrified, Balthazar confessed that Mammon needed the Spear of Destiny to come to Earth. Just then, Angela arrived. Seeing her, Balthazar laughed. According to him, she was the real target all along. John didn't hesitate. He shot him with a dragon's breath bullet. As Angela left, she finally understood that Isabel had sacrificed herself to save the world so that the demons couldn't use her to bring Mammon into this world. But now that she was gone, they wanted to use Angela instead. Suddenly, Angela felt something strange, and in the next moment, some unseen force dragged her away, smashing her through walls and carrying her far off into the distance. John tried to follow her, but she had already disappeared into the sky. So John rushed to Midnight's club and demanded a chair. Midnight used magic to stop him, but John screamed in pain and told him that nobody was following the rules anymore. That got through. Midnight agreed to help. They went to an old artifact store and found an electric chair that had been used for executions. John sat down, soaked his feet in water, and Midnight shocked him with electricity. The moment it hit him, John could see everything. The man with the Spear of Destiny was heading to the hospital, where several demons had already gathered. One demon even tried to attack John through the vision, but Midnight used his magic to push it back. Meanwhile, Chaz had prepared special bullets and surprised John with his plan. Back at the hospital, Angela was thrown into the pool where she came face to face with the same Mexican man. She shot at him repeatedly, but it had no effect. He overpowered her and started drowning her in the water. John and Chaz arrived just in time. Chaz immediately poured holy water and made the sign of the cross in the water tank. Then, John entered the room filled with demons and lit a fire near the alarm to activate the sprinkler system. Holy water began raining down on everyone, weakening all the demons. John used the moment to start firing bullets, and when he ran out, Chaz jumped in to help. Together, they began searching for Angela, who was still underwater, being drowned by the Mexican man. As Angela entered hell again, she met Mammon, who was calling out her name. Back at the pool, John and Chaz found the Mexican man's corpse. Then they saw Angela, clearly possessed by someone else, but even then, John refused to kill her. Instead, he began chanting an exorcism to drive the demon out of Angela. But in the middle of it, Angela, possessed by Mammon, tried to drown him at the last second. Chaz jumped in and helped her pull out of the pool. They laid her on the ground. John's exorcism was starting to work, and Mammon began forcing his way out of Angela's body. So John and Chaz chanted together, hoping it would be enough. It seemed like Mammon had vanished, until suddenly an invisible force lifted Chaz and slammed him onto the ceiling, killing him instantly.
She admitted she was the one helping Mammon come to life. Every sinner thinks they can repent and go to heaven, so she wanted to flood the world with more sin, ensuring only a select few could make it to heaven. Gabriel hurled John across the room and turned her attention back to reviving Mammon. Badly hurt, John started praying, genuinely calling out to God for help, and suddenly time froze.
hours. That's when Lucifer himself showed up. John's soul was the only one he would personally collect. Lucifer began interrogating John and quickly realized Gabriel's plan. He broke down the door, saw what was happening, and understood John had been telling the truth. Just before time resumed, Lucifer grabbed Angela and moved her so that Gabriel's holy spear would miss her and stab straight into the ground. Lucifer then grabbed Angela, who was still under Mammon's influence, and reminded Gabriel that this world belonged to him. Gabriel tried to attack Lucifer, but nothing happened because God had already stripped her powers. Lucifer smiled, sent Mammon back to hell, and then burned Gabriel's wings, casting her into the pool. Lucifer then turned to John and asked what he wanted in return for helping him. Eternal life? Power? John simply said no. Just send Isabel's soul to heaven. Lucifer granted the wish, muttered a spell, and freed Isabel's soul, letting it rise to heaven. Satisfied, Lucifer reached for John to drag him to hell, but something strange happened. Lucifer couldn't move him. He realized, shocked, that John's soul, because of his selfless sacrifice, was no longer damned. As John's soul began rising toward heaven, Lucifer, refusing to lose his favorite soul, shoved his hand into John's chest and pulled out his cancer. He healed John's lungs and gave him more time on Earth, one last twisted gift. Afterward, John picked up the spear and checked on Angela. She was okay now. Gabriel, still alive but now human, had to live with the consequences. For someone like her, that was worse than death. John handed the spear to Angela so she could protect herself going forward. A few days later, he visited Chaz's grave. When he touched the tombstone, Chaz appeared before him as an angel. It meant he'd earned his place in heaven. And with that, the story comes to an end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more.